Hello my angels, welcome back to Vlogmas and welcome back to the kitchen. I feel like you guys are probably sick of seeing this background, but I promise you today is going to be a vlog that you do not want to miss. And actually when I look at the analytics, and that's always something you guys are so interested in, when I look at my vlogs that have done the best, or vlogs that always perform better, or vlogs that you enjoy watching more, it's all to do with hosting and entertaining. And tonight we are doing just that. So I have got some very, very good friends coming over for champagne and Christmas canapés. And I know that all of you really enjoy my top tips, how-tos, how to make canapés, how to make things look a little bit more luscious, try to sort of relieve any anxiety when it comes to Christmas hosting and entertaining. And I had a little bit of time this afternoon and I have to organize all of this and cook it anyway. So I thought I would switch the camera on and it would be part of my Vlogmas extravaganza. So I've got my red dress on ready for this evening. I've got roughly around about an hour to an hour and a half before my guests arrive. Our guests, I should say. I'm popping on my Christmas pinny to save my red dress. This is actually one of those that comes out every single year. And it's one of those traditional Windsor London dresses. And it's just so pretty, ladylike, and actually quite sexy because of the chiffon silk. And it's just a winner. It comes out every single year. So I will try and find some similar dresses and I will link them down below. Windsor London always have their classic range. So fingers crossed they still do this design. And I will link it down below. So let's chat through what we will be cooking today. So first things first, we're going to be making the charcuterie board of absolute dreams. It's going to be Christmassy, it's going to be festive, and it's going to be scrumptious. So I've picked up lots of different salamis. I've got some beautiful cheeses. So I've got a Wensleydale. I've also got a gorgeous Stilton, a Manchego. Different types of fruits are always something that's quite show-stopping. So I've picked up some cranberries, I've picked up some figs. I'm going to do some apple fans, which is really lovely. I really enjoy actually having cheese on fruit instead of cheese on biscuits, but of course we will be popping biscuits on too. And really when it comes to a crudité board, it's all about the presentation. Look, we all love salamis and cheeses, and I kind of think they're sort of things that don't necessarily look that pretty, and so it's our job in order to make it look fabulous. So we are going to be making the charcuterie board of absolute dreams. I'm then going to be making a festive showstopper. It's something that I bring out every single year, and you can slightly change the recipe as per your taste buds and needs. So essentially you are going to need just roll pastry, and what I like to do is I like to create, they're almost like large triangles, and we're going to do triangles all the way around in a circular shape. I'm then going to pop on an enormous amount of cranberry sauce. I had to fight for the cranberry sauce in Waitrose today. Gosh, that sounds like such a first world problem, but it was the last cranberry sauce, and I would normally make my own cranberry sauce. However, we're on a little bit of a tight time frame, so I'm going to dollop an enormous amount of cranberry sauce. I'm then going to layer it up with Brie. I'm then going to sprinkle some dried cranberries. I'm then going to pop in some fresh cranberries. And then we're going to do a bit of a tuck. We're going to tuck in all of those delicious ingredients so that you create a circular Wreath-like cranberry and brie delicioso pastry scrumptious. Divineness. And then we are going to just sprinkle the top with hazelnuts and honey. Well, first of all, we'll get to it in just a moment, but you want to drizzle that honey so that the hazelnuts stick. We're going to pop it in the oven and it is going to be gooey, sweet and unctuous. And trust me, it is a showstopper. Then Deep breath, Leonora. One of my favorite canapes of all time, and again, it's a little bit of a showstopper, but I would say it's a little bit more bougie. You need to get yourself some tiny new potatoes. So these are baby potatoes, and what I like to do is parboil them first. We're then going to Hasselback them. So we're going to make tiny little slits in the top, slices, and just to ensure you don't slice the whole way through, and then we're going to roast them in the Arga, and they're going to become Hasselback roasted potatoes. Then we're going to add a touch of sour cream, and the bougie part, a touch of caviar on the top, and they are scrumptious. Now we're going to go with something rather traditional, and we're going to have salmon blinis, sour cream, and the traditional salmon roe on the top. And this is the, well, they call it salmon caviar, but you know those sort of, what do they call it? Sort of like lumpfish. And you can pick this up in your local Waitrose, Sainsbury's. You can go to your fishmongers, butchers. They normally have it in those sections. And it's just a traditional salmon blini, but it always goes down so well with our guests. And then I think actually that might be enough, but should the boys be really hungry, another thing that almost like soaks up the alcohol and that is just an instant hit is cocktail sausages, but with a twist. I like to drizzle them in honey, have a little bit of rosemary in there, and whole grain mustard, and they are to die for. So those are all of my Christmas canapes. As I said, after 7 minutes chatting to you guys, I really must get on. So with hosting, you have to think about timings. It is all about timings. And essentially, when you're entertaining, you want to socialize and you want to speak to your guests and you want to be there, have champagne with them, and not be working away in the kitchen whilst they're enjoying themselves. So it's all about preparation. And with these canapes, they are so simple, and there's something that can be done ahead of time, either be placed in the warming oven or just be waiting on the side ready to go to the oven, because a couple of these bits and pieces do want to be served just when they come out of the oven. For example, the oven's ready. For example, the Wreath, you want that Brie to be sort of like gooey and almost oozing out of that delicious pastry. So what we're going to do is we're going to prep everything that needs to be cooked first, and then we're going to move on to the charcuterie board because it's all cold and it can go out immediately and be that really wonderful showstopper that when people come in, they're like, oh my goodness, this is beautiful. So let's get started. What I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to parboil the potatoes. You know me, I don't like to make a fuss. I'm literally going to parboil them with the skins on, and I think it really adds an element to the crunch of the Hasselback. So just to give you a little bit of a gauge in terms of size, they're about that size. So I'm gonna get myself a big pot. I'm gonna fill it with water and pop it on the hob. I feel like I don't need to show you guys how to boil potatoes, but your knife should be able to just go in and the potato drop off, and they will be perfect and ready for the Arga. And then we're going to be roasting them. I've had to rejig the camera because I think it's more important that you focus on what's going on down here than staring at my face, but I'm sure I will bob along with you. So first things first, I'm going to prepare the Wreath. So what you need to get yourselves is a baking tray, like so. You need to get yourself a bowl, and it doesn't matter what bowl you have, it doesn't have to go into the oven, so it doesn't need to be oven proof. And I've just got a sweet little bowl like so, and it needs to be roughly this size. And the bowl is going to be in the center, and we are going to cut triangles out of the rolled out pastry, and we are going to just stick it like so to, I'm gonna have to move these, aren't I, so that you can see what I'm doing. And we are going to just place them around the bowl like so, just slightly overlapping. And I'm going to do that the whole way around. And you know what, your triangles don't have to be perfect. As you know, my freehand shapes are not the best in the world. And so I'm just placing those pastry triangles, or little Santa's hats, if you think they look like that. And then I'm just going to freehand do a few more triangles, like so, I would say that those were pretty fantastic, if you ask me. And then I'm going to take my knife, and you know what, they don't have to be perfect. There we go. And I'm going to, and it also doesn't matter if the pastry overlaps the baking tray at this point, because we are going to be folding them in, can also stretch them out slightly. So it's going to be the next lot. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to now slightly overlap. So in those gaps, bring those slightly further down, we're just going to place the next lot of triangles, like so. Slightly pull them out, because it will be easier to fit all of that gorgeous brie in just a moment. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time filling in the gaps, and I'll be back in just a jiffy, and we will add the cranberry sauce and the brie, and this is going to be epic rooney. Oh yes, I cannot wait. Okay. So that is now the beginning of my wreath taking place. We are now going to be taking the cranberry sauce. So get yourselves a teaspoon, and we are going to load this up around the edge. And I would just pop it slightly lower than the bowl, and that will just ooze downwards. And then we're going to get the brie out, and we're going to place the brie on the top. And it's best to do it this way round, so that the brie sticks to the cranberry sauce and stays in place. So that is that done. This is really starting to take place. Now I've just bought Somerset brie, nothing too fancy. I always find that with brie, you always want to get something that's slightly mild, deliciously creamy, and it tastes absolutely scrumdiddlyocious. And I'm going to cut it like so, and we're going to just pop it around the edge. Now with brie, you can eat the rind. I will put some with the rind and some without. You know, the larger the pieces, I probably will just take the rind off, and then keep placing it around the edge. And then we're going to sprinkle it with hazelnuts. I'm also going to sprinkle it with some fresh cranberries, and that will really, really add to the crunch and the freshness of our wreath. Okay, might have to give this one a little bit of a trim. So I'm going to just spend a little bit of time placing the brie around the edge, and I will come back and we will sprinkle it with those cranberries and hazelnuts together. So that is all of the brie on top of the pastry and that delicious cranberry sauce. And I've now just spent a little bit of time, also great stress release, just crushing up those whole hazelnuts. If you do want to buy chopped hazelnuts, then that would save you one step, save you a little bit of time. And then I've also got these delicious fresh cranberries here, that gorgeous burgundy berry rich colour, and this is really going to add sort of a freshness and really rather vibrant taste. Also makes it feel super festive. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time chopping these up in tiny little pieces, and then we're going to be sprinkling it over the top. Ooh, he popped. Okay, it is now time for the sprinkle. I'm just going to sprinkle those hazelnuts. Obviously, please do check with your guests if anybody has a nut allergy. And if so, I think it goes without saying, then please do not add the nuts. So this recipe will taste just as delicious without them. However, I do really enjoy that crunch. So that is now the cranberries on top. And this is what it should begin to look like. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to remove remove the bowl. Hopefully she comes away rather easily. Just want to take that bowl out, and then we want to use the pastry and we want to do the tuck. So you want to take the top of the triangle and you just want to roll it around the edge and just try and stick it down the best that you can. And obviously there is going to be gaps, so do not worry too much about it. That is where the brie is going to ooze through. So that is how you begin to create the wreath shape. That is looking so good. And then this is going to bake in the oven for, I would say, roughly around about 15 to 20 minutes, but eyeball it in all honesty. Set it for 15, have a glass of champagne with your girlfriends or your friends, and then come back and just, you want to take it out of the oven once it is golden brown. Now, just to make sure that all of my little Santa's hats are secure, we're going to take an egg, and we're going to just slightly egg wash it with a cooking paintbrush. Please make sure it is a cooking one and not your actual paintbrush, and that will just make it gloss, and when it bakes it will come out and look super shiny and just scrumptious. So I've just got myself a little bowl. I'm going to crack the egg like so. Make sure don't get any shell in it, just like I have. And then you can actually take your brush and use your brush to whisk it all together. Saves getting anything else dirty. Give a little bit, just tap that excess off, and then we're just going to paint those little pastry hats, and it also just ensures that it's all stuck down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to pop this to one side. And as I said, this doesn't need to go into the oven until my guests arrive. And that delicious smell of that buttery pastry along with the brie is going to make our guests salivate. Chef's kiss. Cannot wait. Oh, this is a really tricky one to share, I must say. People are going to be fighting over this delicious canapé. And it's also really lovely to be able, it's a real sharing platter, and it really does look the part as well. So that is all perfectly done in here. Also just going to make sure that those hats are perfectly tucked, just to ensure that hopefully they don't spring up once they are baking or cooking. There we go. And so those are beautifully painted and ready for the oven. You can really go as extra as you wish with the egg wash. You can use it as glue, or you could just use it as that piece de la resistance on the top in order to make it glow. So this is, add a few more little Nuttingtons to the top, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is our brie and cranberry wreath ready for the oven. So as I said, I'm just going to pop that to one side, and we are now going to be taking the potatoes off the boil. They are pared to perfection, and we are now going to prepare them and actually put them straight into the Aga. And once they are cooked, they can just go into the warming oven and be ready for the sour cream and the caviar. They are so good. Okay, so this is going to one side, and our potatoes are ready for action. I am also going to have a little bit of a tidy here, because we don't need the hazelnuts until the very end, until our wreath is cooked to perfection. And we are now going to focus on our potatoes. So the next step to our canapés is I've got my new potatoes here. I've let them cool slightly just so that I can actually touch them. And what you want to do is you want to take a very sharp knife and you want to just cut little slices And just make sure that you're going to the center of the potato and not all the way through. And another little tip is to not cut too close to the edge, and they should look like this. So you can actually open them up slightly, and they are called Hasselback potatoes. So I'm going to just whiz my way through these potatoes, and I will be back in just a hot sec. Our Hasselbacks are all sliced up and ready for the oven, but just before we pop them in, we are just going to drizzle them with olive oil, and it's just important to make sure that the olive oil goes into all of those little slices, so you can actually just hold them back and make sure that olive oil goes straight into the center of that potato. And when they bake, they will then go deliciously crispy and actually bake, and those slices will really sort of come apart. And then it's important to give them a good old jiggle around, a shake, rattle and roll, as we like to say. Make sure all sides are, what a shame. And then what you can do is you can actually pop them so there's little slices are back facing the top. And then we are going to season them. So salt onto each one of those potatoes. Gosh, really adds to the flavor. Be generous with the seasoning. And then a little bit of fresh black pepper. And they are ready for the oven. And like I said, it's all about preparation. These are just going straight in to the top part of the Aga, which is roughly around about 200 degrees. You can cook them 180, 190, 200, doesn't matter. Eyeball it to ensure you don't burn them. We're going for a golden roast, ladies and gentlemen. And then once they come out of the oven, I'm just gonna pop them into the warming oven and they're done. And actually, if you don't have a warming oven, because I am mindful that a lot of people might not, you can just turn your oven down to the lowest heat that it will, and then just place them in there and it will keep them warm. Or what you can do is just place a tea towel over it or wrap them up in tin foil. They don't need to be piping hot at all. And actually it's probably best that they're not piping hot, otherwise the sour cream will just sort of slide off or melt instantly. And we're then going to be adding the caviar on top. So those are our potatoes and our Christmas wreath all prepared and ready to rock and roll. I think we are now going to move on to my charcuterie board of dreams. So I'm going to get myself an enormous board. We're going to decorate it with rosemary. We've got lots of different fruits, lots of different cheese. We've got olives, biscuits, apples, the whole shebang. So let's design this charcuterie board together. Okay, it is now time to do the charcuterie board of absolute dreams. Now this really does blow everybody away. So first things first, go and get yourself either like a platter or a chopping board or something that you like having out on show. Like get your best platter, your best chopping board. And I'm actually using a round chopping board this time. Now you also need a wine glass, and no, it's not for drinking wine out of. You're gonna need two. You need one with your drink and the other one empty and dry, because this is how we are going to create our salami roses. This is actually a trick that I learned on Instagram. So what you do is you need to make sure that all of your salami is open. So I'm gonna do a few different variations of salami. And bear with me. Probably should have prepared this before. As I always say, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So just going to open up the salami. And we are going to take the wine glass and we're going to fold the salami around the edges, just overlapping those salami slices, working our way all the way around the glass. And I like to go twice round just to ensure that all of those gaps are fully covered, and you don't actually have to put as many salami slices on the second time round. And then we're going to go in with a different type of salami, and we're going to wrap those around the edges. This is definitely for meat eaters. And then we're going to add one more different type of salami, and we're going to just lay it just on the edge. So it's slightly longer. Wait for it. You're probably thinking, what on earth is she doing? Wait for it, ladies and gentlemen. We are then going to make sure you know where you want them to go, and we are going to flip the glass upside down, and that, I'm going to just make a little indentation, is, I'm going to have to show you a close-up, our salami rows. And so I'm actually going to do 4 of them around my beautiful chopping board, and it looks so pretty and so sweet, and not just a load of meat slapped on a chopping board. Essentially it is, but we've done it in a very pretty and presentable way. So I am not going to painstakingly make you watch me put salami around a wine glass 4 times. So I'm going to pop this on a time lapse, and I will come back and I will show you what my 4 salami masterpieces look like. I'm getting really bougie now. I'm getting myself a dessert wine glass, and I'm going to just do a few little rosettes. I've decided against 4 large ones. I just think it's going to be a touch too much salami. So that's another thing. Always remember how many people you are catering for. I am one that likes a canapé table to look luscious, but equally we don't want it to be wasteful. So I'm just going to use the slightly more chorizo kind of salam, as Marcus likes to call it, around the edge of our dessert wine glass. I'm going to turn him over. Always give a little bit of a scooch downwards, and that will go into that really pretty rosette form. Do that again. And then I would say that that is enough meat for 1 charcuterie board. Now, I feel like I've shown you my crudité basket a zillion times. It is one of my showstoppers. However, we're not that many people this evening, and they're sort of more meat eaters than veggies, so I thought that they would enjoy this better. Again, another hosting tip. Speak to your guests. If you know them really well, then you'll know what type of food they like to eat, and try to cater for things that you think that they will enjoy. It just means that you've put more sort of thought into it, and you know that when they come, they're going to really enjoy your food. So that is my 4 salami rosettes placed out, and now it's just a matter of just filling in the gaps. And so what I like to do is I love to fill the gaps with herbs. It looks so pretty, and we're going to do it in a slight Christmassy way. The rosemary is going to look like little Christmas trees around the edge, I hope. So I'm going to place those around the edge like so, and then I'm going to fill it in with grapes, cheese, crackers, olives, biscuits, figs. You get the gist. Just about anything else, and it will start to sort of really build up and look really luscious and scrumptious. So please make sure that your grapes are washed, and I'm going to just place those in the gaps. Again, you can pop the grapes back in the fridge. They don't need to be cut. And actually that's something that I would suggest. You know, the royals would never pick a grape off of the branch. They would always take their silver scissors and they would just trim the little bunch that they would like to eat and then pick them off the stalk. So please don't pick your grapes off, and if there are some sort of loose ones, then by all means use them to fill in the gaps. I would suggest a better hosting tip is to actually put the full branch of grapes onto the cheese board or charcuterie board together, and it just looks I don't know, it's a little top tip of mine. Now time for the Cheezel McNeasel, and I picked up a Wensleydale. I do love myself a Wensleydale, and we're keeping on that cranberry tradition. It's fruity and it's creamy. So I'm going to pop him over here. I'm going to move him up, scooch him there, and I'm going to put a manchego. I'm going to save the blue. I don't feel like we need the blue, and I feel like a blue is more appropriate for a cheese board after dinner. So I'm going to use the manchego, and we're going to pop him. I think I might switch that round. It really is just a matter of playing around with it until you're happy with the positioning. So I'm going to pop him over there. Put my grapes, as Mark would say, my grapes over there. And then I'm going to just now pop some olives just next to, oh, we'll throw the olives on the floor. Oh, 3-second rule. No one saw that. Pop some olives around the edges. And these are those gorgeous pimento stuffed olives with the chili and creamy manchego. And I am so naughty, I eat all the manchego and leave the chili olives. Mark hates me for it. So you could even just place the olives into those salami rosettes, and they look fabulous. I'm just placing these olives around the edges. Pop a few over here by this cheese. You can also pop toothpicks into them, but I like to always have the toothpicks on the side. The guests can pick up their toothpick and keep it for the evening. Then we need to add a few Figgingtons. Take a knife, and I like to just cut these in quarters. So we're just going to place little twos around the edges, and cut that one, pop it over here. Oh gosh, this looks incredible. I wish I could dig in now. I don't think I'm going to pop, let's pop one more there and one more over there. Then I'm going to get some crackers, because we've got a lot of cheese, but we need to pop something on there where you can have the cheese possibly on a cracker. So back in just a jiffy. Got the biscuits, and these are just Peter's Yards, big and spelt sourdough crackers. And again, when it comes to the crackers, you can be quite artistic. So I would suggest to just fan them out, and they can either go next to the cheese or next to the charcuterie. What are we going to do here? I think I might do a little fan around that side, so all the biscuits are over there. And then I'm going to do some apples around this side. And you can actually find really great pictures on Google, on Pinterest, of the design of a charcuterie board and copy it. You don't have to just sort of stand here like I am today, like, where should we pop this? And again, if you've got enough rosemary, you can just fill the gaps with that gorgeous rosemary. And there we go. Yum to the scrum. I'm now going to take one of my apples, and I'm going to, I'm running out of space here, aren't I? I'm just going to slice it really, really finely, and we're going to create an apple fan for the other side. And then I'm going to get myself a delicious chutney and pop it in the bowl with a tiny little pearly spoon, and then that will be our charcuterie board finished. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time. You can actually just do this and just pull it apart and just create a little bit of a apple fan. Are you an apple fan? Oh, my camera is not a fan. It is flashing red. Okay, well, I'm gonna have a little bit of a nibble of an apple. Change the battery. We are back in the room. And the final step is to add a little bowl of your choice. Pick a red one because it's Christmas. I'm going to place it in the middle, and then pick your chutney of choice. Now there are a million different chutneys. However, this evening I'm going to go with a caramelized red onion chutney, and it lends itself so well for the types of cheeses that I've chosen this evening. So I'm going to take myself a beautiful spoon, and we are going to lashing of that caramelized onion in the middle. My father always says I say onion, drives me absolutely nuts. So onion, Daddy, if you're watching this. And then, you know what, with things like this, you can always pop them back into the jar. So be generous with this. And that's something, again, one of my top tips for hosting is that you never want your guests to make you feel as though you're being a bit stingy. If you've got a bowl full of crisps, make sure that it is literally coming out the top. And if you don't have enough crisps, pick a smaller bowl, so that when your guests come, they're like, oh wow, there's lots of food, and it's, you know, they're being really generous. And I think this looks absolutely incredible. So let's give you a close-up. So this is my charcuterie board of dreams. So we've got those amazing meat and salami rosettes, all the gorgeous grapes, the cranberries, the figs, and it really is a feast for your eyes as well as your tummy. So in every single little gap you see something, whether it's the olives and the manchego or the figs or the cranberries, the gorgeous salamis, and they're all different types, and it actually makes it easy to be able to take one from the middle outwards. Got those gorgeous red salami down here, the Wensleydale, the manchego. Gosh, I cannot wait to dig in. Now the most difficult thing is to actually wait for your guests before you start digging into these canapés for yourself. The Hasselbacks are out of the oven, and I had them in there for about 15 to 20 minutes, and as you can see, the little slices here are all crispy and delicioso. So I'm actually just letting them cool on the side for just a moment, and they will be perfect for when our guests arrived. So put them all like that, and we're going to look at the state of my Argus slugs. Huh? Are you just having the best time? Are you living your best life? Wiggs? Are you just living your best life? Are you going to say hi to everybody? He's like, no, Mummy, I'm so happy. But I am going to say hello because I'm a superstar. I'm a superstar. Right, I'm going to go and wash my hands, and we're going to do these smoked salmon blinis. I have a feeling they might want a bit of smoked salmon. Smoked salmon? I think that's a yes. Okay, hands are washed and dried, and I've got my blinis and my smoked salmon. So you're going to need to get yourself a baking tray, and we're going to take another knife. I'm just going to pop. I'll tell you what, I don't actually think we're going to need all of these this evening. I think we'll do about 3 each. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3. Ooh, 1, 2, 3. And these only take about 3 to 4 minutes to cook. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Pop that to one side, and then we're going to prepare our smoked salmon. And again, this is something that could be done during the day. Prepare them, pop them on a plate, cling them, and put them in the fridge, and they're done, ready to rumble. So you don't need to be fiddling with them and have fishy fingers when your guests arrive. Fishy fingers are not a vibe. Awful. So I'm going to get myself a little plate. And how many are we going to need? 3, 6, 9, 12. Probably a bigger plate. Right. Here we go. I've got myself one of the chicken plates, and you can either again use a tiny glass, and this is one of our smallest dessert wine glasses. However, I like to create the rosettes by hand, and what you're going to do is, when it comes to smoked salmon, they come in little slices, and you want a really fine slice like so, and you're going to just trim it, and you're going to use your finger. Actually, we need to just halve that. And you're just going to twiddle it around your finger like so, creating a tiny little rosette. That one's terrible. Eat it. Right. The most delicious smoked salmon. So perfect. That one looks a lot better. So we're going to go for a longer one. And then I'm going to... It's easier if you've got longer strips and then they're sort of thin. So like so. Can't believe I'm holding up salmon like that. Put your finger in the middle and twiddle it around your finger. And again, you can be as stingy or as generous as you wish with the smoked salmon. I appreciate it's expensive, and when you are serving lots of other canapés as well, you don't need to have too much on there. So I'm probably by this point going to pop this on a time lapse, and I'm going to do 12 salmon rosettes. Also important to gauge it, so depending upon how much smoked salmon you have, just to make sure you're not doing too big of rosettes and then run out of smoked salmon so you can't do the rest of the blinis. That would be a tragedy. Tragedy! Da -da 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 -da, tragedy! So as I said, it's all about preparation. So those are my rosettes finished. And I'm now just going to pop them into the fridge. Make sure you do cling them, otherwise that smoked salmon will dry out. And delicately cling. You don't want to destroy those beautiful rosettes that you have just beautifully made. So we're going to pop these in the fridge. We'll have the sour cream also in the fridge, and then it's so easy to just put a dollop of sour cream onto those freshly baked blinis. Well, warmed up. You can actually make the blinis yourself at home. I never do. I just buy them because they're delicious and they're crunchy and they're scrumptious, and it saves a whole heap of time, in all honesty. Maybe one day we'll make blinis, but not today. So we're going to bake them, let them cool slightly, pop the sour cream on, pop the smoked salmon on, and then a touch of that gorgeous salmon caviar on the top. And that is our salmon blinis done. So really we're going to do that when the guests arrive. I do also think I'm not going to do the sausages. I think we're going to have enough canapés for one evening. So my guests will be arriving in around about T-minus 15 minutes. So I'm going to have a little bit of a tidy, fill the buckets and pop the champagne on ice. I have a feeling Christy will want to pop a few corks or two. So I'm just going to do a very quick tidy, light some candles, pop the rest of it in the oven, and then I will be back and we will place everything onto their platters together. Our Hasselback potatoes are looking scrum-didiocious. So I have popped very, very spoily the caviar on this side and the sour cream on the other. And then guests can just take their potato, load it up with sour cream and caviar themselves, and enjoy every single morsel of these scrumptious beauties. Our guests are on their way, so it is time to place everything together. So my little blinis have been in the oven. They are crispy and they have just slightly cooled. And that's just so that when you pop the sour cream on, or creme fraiche, however you wish to have them, that the creme fraiche then doesn't just sort of melt immediately, so that they will be warm to eat, but not piping hot. So I'm gonna pop a tiny bit of sour cream all over my blinis. That is 1 minute to go on the Wreath, Brie and Cranberry pastry heaven that is in the oven. And so that is everything prepped, and it just means that I can then relax and have champagne and drinks and just enjoy the festivities with my guests without being super stressed about hosting. So that is the sour cream all done. You want to just make sure it is smeared on. We're then going to take our already prepared smoked salmon rosettes and just place them on the top. They're beautifully cool. So it's really lovely. You'll get that lovely warmth and crisp from the blini, the delicious creaminess of that sour cream, and then the cool smoked salmon. The smoked salmon is so soft. If you are from my area, then I could not recommend Machen's enough in Henley. Gabriel Machen, their smoked salmon is to die for. So I'm going to switch off the oven before it drives you and me completely crazy. We are then going to take the salmon roe, another little teaspoon, and this is the salmon roe. It's just fish eggs. I know that sounds disgusting, but they're absolutely delicious on a bellini. And I am really rather generous when it comes to this. So I pop a tiny teaspoon. Make sure you get a fair few eggs on the top there. And then we are going to just sprinkle chives on top. Nothing is quite like smoked salmon and chives. So I'm going to very, very delicately pop the eggs on the top. And at this point, it's just important to take a deep breath, relax, and enjoy, because this is what Christmas is all about, is entertaining loved ones, family, making memories, making things special, you know, making that effort so that when your friends and your family come in, they think, oh my goodness, how beautiful is that? So I'm now just going to sprinkle a tiny bit of chive onto each one of my scrumptious blinis. And I've got it on one of our favourite Mackenzie Childs platters. And I think next door to our Mackenzie Child Santa Claus, we've taken the enormous floral arrangement out of the way. I think the canapes are the drama this evening, and they are ready to be placed out. So I'm going to quickly get the Christmas wreath out of the oven onto the platter, and then I will show you what it all looks like together. She is ready, and she is looking unbelievable. The smell. Now, I'm slightly panicking. I need to have my sous chef and my assistant.
Hello, everybody.
Right, don't touch the this. No, we don't need your support. Our guests are literally just arriving. Oh gosh, Marcus, how am I going to do this? I'm under stress here. Just because you're holding it like that does not mean you're helping.
Right.
Oh gosh.
There we go, that's it.
Oh gosh. For you. Okay, guests are literally just about to come in. So, let's get the honey drizzle on. Honey drizzle on. We're then going to, boys, sprinkle the hazelnuts over the top. And then we are going to do the final touches, which is the dried cranberries. That is our guests literally just about to arrive. So perfect timing. And that is our incredible Christmas Brie, cranberry, hazelnut and honey pastry wreath done. So everything is out and ready to rumble. So let's give you guys a close-up before it gets eaten. So our guests are literally just about to walk through the door. So let's very, very quickly talk through these incredible Christmas canapes. So this is the Christmas wreath made out of beautiful brie. It's got cranberries, hazelnuts, dried cranberries, a drizzle of honey over the top. And I can't tell you how delicious that buttery pastry smells. Then we've got our rather bougie Hasselback potatoes with sour cream and caviar. Definitely bougie, but absolutely delicious. We've then got a few little crispies and some dips. The dream charcuterie board, of which I spoke to you about earlier. So many delicious bits and bobs in here. And as I said, it is a little bit of a showstopper. And then we have our salmon blinis. So you've got those gorgeous blinis on the bottom, crispy and buttery, the sour cream, the cold smoked salmon, and then those gorgeous salmon eggs on the top with a sprinkle of chives. We have the champagne on ice, Mr. Santa Claus over here, bit of a bomb over there, but this is the Christmas canapé spread for this evening. Pumps is doing the honour. Woo! There we go. Merry Christmas. My gorgeous darling is here and we are going to be spending the evening just catching up, having a big catch up before the very big day. So we're having some gorgeous Christmas canapés and a glass of champagne to celebrate. Cheers. Cheers guys. I truly hope you've enjoyed this one and I will see you tomorrow.